reprimanded by traffic cops, I'm listening to Rainier Avenue Radio World.
High school football is back, but guess what? We need more referees. There's a constant need for qualified individuals to work our high school football game. Please consider becoming a football official. Go to pnfoa.com to sign up today. That's pnfoa.com to sign up today. This is a message brought to you by Rainier Avenue Radio App, your home of Metro High School football.
This is Monique Lee from the Afternoons with Monique show. I'm also the owner of Seattle Love Broker, a relationship consulting and matchmaking company. Tune in every Thursday afternoon at 1 p.m. to listen to intriguing, informative, and entertaining guests share stories of their past and vision for the future of our community.
Hello, listener. What's important to you about what's going on in your community? Are you interested? Are you concerned? In any case, I invite you to tune into my show, Seattle Here and Now, on Rainier Avenue Radio World. Why? I will be covering a wide range of topics important to you and impacting the community. Each show will have a special guest or guests to share with you information on a variety of subjects that are happening here and now in Seattle. I promise I will work hard to make my show informative, interesting, and entertaining. Be sure to listen to Seattle Here and Now on Rainier Avenue Radio World.
And welcome to our live studio audience for another exciting edition of Did You Know? And here we go with round one. Did you know?
The COVID vaccine is free and easy to get. You don't need insurance or an appointment to get your vaccine. Vaccines are available at many locations near you.
And now we're going to double the value. Did you know?
The COVID-19 vaccine is always free of cost. You can visit pharmacies, community health centers, and other health providers in your neighborhood.
And now for the lightning round. Did you know?
The Delta variant of COVID is a mutation that has health experts worried because it's twice as contagious.
Then for our finale. Did you know?
The best way to protect yourself from the COVID Delta variant is to get fully vaccinated. Get your vaccine today.
Find out more at kingcounty.gov/vaccine. Did you know?
This is Rainier Avenue Radio World.
Hey. Hey, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I feel like for the past 2 weeks I've been on mute. Welcome everyone to Clean Greens Living, broadcast of Rainier Avenue Radio. It is your host, Queen Bree and Robyn T. What's going on? Hey, Robyn.
Hi, Queen Bree.
How are you?
I'm so good. You are looking extra queen-like today, and I'm loving it. It's
Thank
great to see
you.
you. It's great to be here on Rainier Avenue Radio. Of course, we always like to remind everyone we are on the Duwamish Nation land. Duwamish, still trying to get recognized federally. So please go to realrentduwamish.org to support. And the music you're hearing is, of course, by Carrie Williams, a.k.a. Cuddy Fresh. We've got so much going on.
Yes, and I kind of want to talk fast about the announcements because I'm really excited about our guest today. Like, I almost worked myself up and got so nervous that I didn't think I would be able to be my bubbly personal self. But I'm back to earth.
Woo.
All right. Announcements today. You know, I always got to support these boys out here in these streets. Please be sure to tune in to Rainier Avenue Radio this Friday. The headliner is Rainier Beach versus Ballard in Memorial Stadium at 5 p.m. And East Catholic Boys versus Garfield this Friday. Did I say Saturday? Both games are Friday. Rainier Beach and Ballard is 5, and Garfield and East Catholic at 7:45. Good job out here. Garfield is really doing a good job, guys. So I just want to congratulate them on that. It's I cannot believe we were just nervous about our grand opening, and now we are headed into our last week of our CSAs. What? This is the last week of the CSAs, but guess what? It's not the last week of vegetables. We will be going into the end of October for our vegetables, so we're so excited about that. So please, this Saturday from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m., check us out at 116 21st Avenue, I was going to say radio, 21st Avenue, Seattle. And we'll also be on 23rd with Rainier Avenue Radio as well, giving out fresh produce. So please check us out in 2 different spots. You cannot miss getting fed.
Ooh,
Other big news. Oh, got some big
this
news.
is it.
Save the date. Let me get my hands in there this way. Save the date. Look at the crown on her head. Hey, thank you, Reverend Thorne. Save the date, everyone. November 16th, starting at 6:30 is our annual harvest dinner. And guess who we have? Doug Baldwin is our speaker. Woo, woo, woo. Okay, sorry. I want to get to our guests, so let's sit in that for a moment. Okay, so save the date, November 16th at 6:30. We are having our harvest dinner. There will be food, there will be raffles, there will be love, there will be Doug Baldwin, and there will be awards. And you get to find out further what goes into doing Clean Greens and what are our needs and how can you step in and help. So we'll be talking about that all week. So am I talking too fast? Did you guys get all that information I just dropped down to you guys?
I hope they got that, but we will be reminding them the harvest dinner is gonna be so fire. It's gonna be so fun. It's gonna be so great. There's also gonna be music, but Doug's really excited to come speak with us, and we are just feeling all the love in the community, and we can't wait. And you get to be there. If you don't want to be there, you can be there online. We will be sharing details.
Yeah, so it'll be half inside, half out. Doug, if you're listening, we are so excited and thank you for saying yes. So our guest today is a devoted leader for over half a century and continues to fight for equality and justice. He is a well-known radio host on Urban Forum Northwest on 1150 AM KKNW Alternative Talk Radio Live. His show is live every Thursdays from 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Times and re-airs every Saturday morning from 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. He is a lifelong activist and organizer and has been very instrumental in drawing attention to racial disparities, discrimination, social change, economic justice here in the Northwest. Everyone, welcome on Eddie Rye. Yay!
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
No problem. I feel like, Daniel, next time can we have like the little yay?
That's all right. Let me do something before you do the yays.
There we go.
Eddie, you've done so much. Oh my gosh, we're going to get into it. We're so happy to have you here.
Right. You've done so much and we got to unpack some of this in 30 minutes. But we first wanted to start with, we first met you officially. We've heard about you forever. We first officially met you at the reparations rally, and we were talking about how you got started talking about redlining. So can you just tell our audience who may not know, like, what is redlining and what it is that you did in Seattle about redlining?
Well, I was chair of the Central Seattle Community Council Housing Federation's Housing Committee, director of the Educational Talent Search Program at Camp, and my boss was Dr. Rosalind Woodhouse. They gave me a lot of flexibility to do things in the community. And we discovered that 8 major lending institutions had made 1 loan or less in the central area of Seattle. And a study concluded with the fact that there were restrictive covenants, like people, like even the mayor, Charles Royal, lived in one of the neighborhoods where they had a restrictive covenant where you could not sell to or rent to a Black, Asian, and primarily Japanese at the time, and to an Indian or a Jewish person. And so what you see right now on 23rd and Union and 23rd and Jackson and all these high rises is a direct result of that redlining where loans were not made. It was so bad that building inspectors would go around and say, Ms. Jones is 70 years old and her house has some deficiencies. And they say, if you don't fix this up in 30 days, we're going to have to abate your house. Well, there's no way she could get a loan anyway, even if she was a wealthy person at that time, because the redlining was there. And in 4 or 5 major cities, there were quite a bit of activity. Like we actually painted a red line around. It was the bank of was Seafers, called the Black Box on 4th Avenue. Members of the clergy painted red lines around certain parts of the central area. We would have meetings and invite the bankers. If they didn't show up, we'd have their name with an empty chair. It got to the point where President Gerald Ford had the Secretary of Housing and Urban Development, Carla Hills, come to Seattle to try to meet with us to quell things down. The same thing was happening in Chicago, in San Francisco, in a couple of other cities, in Boston and Seattle. And so as a result, unfortunately, everything that was attempted through the redlining and displacement ended up bearing fruition because of the fact folks were forced out of the central area. Councilman Larry Gossett mentioned earlier on my program this afternoon that in 1961, and when Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. made his only visit to Seattle, 88% of the central area was Black. The other 12% lived in High Point, Rainier Vista, Yessa Terrace, or High Point in West Seattle. And but what happens is that we've gone, like right now, fast forward, we've gone 23 years without affirmative action in Washington State. And the people say I-200 in 1998 killed affirmative action. Actually, I-200 did not kill affirmative action. Governor Gary Locke's Governor's Directive 98-01 killed affirmative action. And we've been trying for a couple of years to get, once we discovered 98-01, trying to get Governor Jay Inslee to rescind that governor's initiative to give people an impression that it's okay to be fair and equitable. One thing about it is that if you don't have economic justice, you're going to have social ills. And we see this not only in Seattle, now in Martin Luther King County, because Seattle has lost a significant number of what I say African descendants of the United States enslaved. I'd be very specific about that. I have nothing against any other immigrants or anything, but I'm not going to let anybody forget our 400 years of history. America is a superpower economically today because she had 254 years of chattel slavery of Black folks from Africa and the ones who were born after that. We can't let people forget that. Every time we've had success, it's been challenged or ravaged. Well, I mean, we can look at the fact that after the Civil War, there were over 1,000 elected and appointed Black elected officials, and there were more Black folks down south then than whites. But what happens is that every time, and if you think 1,000 elected appointed Black elected officials, 40 acres and a mule, where would we be today? But what happens is Andrew Jackson, president, makes a deal. They remove all the federal troops, turn the Ku Klux Klan loose, and everything that was gained was lost. Voting rights, property, everything. Fast forward to Black Wall Street, the most successful Black community in the world. And because one person made an allegation, over 300 people were killed, 32 square blocks of prime property, theaters, restaurants owned by Black folks were destroyed. Then we fast forward to the Civil Rights Movement, where we finally get voting rights and civil rights in 64, voting rights in 65, fair housing in 68. Get all this and we're going along fine. Black folks are going into the middle class. We're getting Black students in colleges. There's a commitment to bring about equality for us. All of a sudden, Ronald Reagan gets in 1980 and defunds it all. So we keep going in these cycles where, like right now, it would be hard for me to be and I'm a military veteran, but what would I look like being in Germany or Japan or the Middle East or somewhere? And my people, I can't even vote. What am I defending? And with the way this white supremacy movement is going, maybe we need to have all the Blacks in the military come back here and defend our rights right here. They don't have to worry about defending them in Germany. We need to worry about defending them right here in Texas, in Alabama, and other northern states, including Idaho, where they're changing the voting rights. So I'm just saying, we have a history of going up and coming back down. And that's why I've been really focused on economic equity, because economic equity takes care of a lot of social ills. And so if we don't have that, we just are really missing the boat in the United States of America.
Oh, okay. I wanted to give Robyn a chance to, did you have any? What I love about you is that Reverend Thorne, who was our special co-host, said the legend, Mr. Eddie Rye. Mr. E. Rye. What I love about you is that you're unapologetic about mentioning because a lot of times we get shushed when we talk about slavery. Citizens need to learn history and truth. Right. Teresa Huey said that. I agree. And that was my next question. I love how you're
I thought you were there for a second.
Huh?
Thank you for speaking on all that.
Oh, you're going in and out, Robyn. But I love how unapologetic you are. And what I was going to say is what Teresa said. A lot of this stuff isn't taught in school. A lot of this stuff we're having to figure out and learn on our own as Black people. How do we get educated on everything you just said? Because you said that affirmative action was taken out, and we would never have known that if you have never mentioned that. So how does one stay on top of that information?
Well, I think that there's a lot of information out here, and a lot of us have to do a lot better job of getting information out before the public. That's something that we have a responsibility to do. And so what I try to do is through my program and other means, include my Facebook posts, I try to keep it real. The thing about it is that if immigrants come to this country, should have to have a course in Black history in order to get a citizenship. Black history is American history. And folks don't want people to know about the 254 years of chattel slavery. They don't want to know about the segregated armies. My father was a Pullman porter, and he would tell me stories about World War II, where German and Italian prisoners of war could go into a restaurant and eat, and the Black soldiers guarding them, the Americans, had to get their stuff to go. Just last week, Lenny Wilkins told me a story about when he was in the military. He went as a second lieutenant. He had played his first year as a rookie in the NBA, and he was playing for his job was special. He just played basketball for this group that he was with in the Army, and they went to play a team in Texas, and the Black players had to go around to the back, so he didn't get off the bus to go around to the back. So the coach chastised him for it. And he told the coach if he couldn't eat, he couldn't play. Well, what happens when he got back to the base, instead of being in trouble, the commanding general sided with Lenny Wilkins, and everything changed. So we all have a story. If you're as old as I am, we all have a story about injustice. And I mean, even in Seattle in the early 50s, Black people could not try on clothes downtown. Mm. And department stores had restaurants we couldn't eat at. And the police would stop you if you're in the wrong neighborhood. They better know that you're supposed to be there. A lot of time, Black women, primarily back in the 50s and the early 60s, they were cleaning rich white people's houses and stuff. So a lot of those jobs, as a matter of fact, in all the major restaurants, the Golden Lion, the restaurants in the Olympic Hotel, all the servers, the maitre d's, and the chefs were all Black men. And as soon as they unionized it, it became a different story. They were working in places where they couldn't sit down as a customer and eat. That's what it was like up north, up here. That's what it was like.
I have had some instances where I've experienced racial, what would I say, racism. And I remember being told I would never move up because I had a strong personality, because I wouldn't let people treat me any kind of way. Yes, I do need a job. Yes, I want to pay my bills, but you ain't gonna treat me like a slave. You ain't gonna treat me wrong. So yes, we have some stories here in the North where we're supposed to be progressive.
Yeah, well, we know it. If you got to do is look at the other thing I look at is Robyn. We're gonna say something to you in a minute. But what I look at is that we've been the Washington Civil Rights Coalition, and this friend of mine that's really a guru with numbers, Bob Armstead, is looking at these numbers. For the last 10 disparity studies, African descendants of United States slaves are so far down in terms of participation. So that's why you lose the CD. When you don't participate in the economy, you don't hold on to anything, you can't acquire anything, you can't grow. Then they have these programs set up where you have a large white-owned firm, and the minority has to work under that firm. And on one contract, the Seattle Tunnel Partners Project, 4 Black construction companies went broke, and nothing happened to the large white firms that did this. And our government officials, the Washington State Department of Transportation, looked the other way and didn't say a damn thing, to be honest with you. So we got to hold people accountable. Well, if they're in the government, they have to represent everybody, not just whoever is the big guy. And what has happened since we haven't had affirmative action, they're telling people, well, you can't come out and check on no job because it's not legal anyway. Well, that's not the truth. The Assistant Attorney General for Civil Rights, Kristen Clark, will be getting a complaint from us real soon with all the documentation because discrimination is still illegal. Hi, Robyn. How you doing?
Hey, I'm good. I'm sorry. I was getting a little bit of a delay. I am so glad to hear you talking about this. And you really know and have all the moves on how to, make things happen. And just like you said, it's documented. You have things documented. And I know you're laser focused now on reparations. And it's such a healing thing for everybody. You know what I mean? Like I just love seeing that conversation getting louder, but it's like you've been unapologetic this whole time. So I loved hearing your history and seeing what you're doing, and and you're teaching us to support the work. Like the names of everyone and what's going on behind the scenes. Because when I was younger, it was like affirmative action makes so much sense, and then it's just gone, and it's been 20 years now. I'm like. So I'm happy that you've been working so hard in Seattle, and doing things. So I'm honored to support the work, hear how it's going. And actually, you started a long time ago, right? Like,
well, I am 79 going on 49.
Yes, you are. And I have questions about that.
Seriously. Yeah, that's what I was talking about. You have a long history. Bree wanted to talk about your family history and how the legacy continues to go on with your daughter, and it started with your dad, and
it's like 3 generations of fire lit under you guys. You guys are not letting up on these folks, and we love to see it. So how do you keep the fire going? It could have been back before your father's father, but we were just reading up on you. We see your father came down here. He was an activist. Then you were an activist. And we see your daughter is an activist. She ain't letting up on them folks. We thank her where she's at. So how do you keep the fire going? And how did you pass that? How did you guys pass that on from generation to generation?
Well, my daughter was in her first demonstration in a stroller when she was 2. And she said she was a drug addict. Her daddy drugged her to all the meetings, whether she could understand what was going on or not. So that was part of it. And then when she went to Holy Names, she wanted to start a Black student union. And the principal said, no, we have a minority student union. She said, we'll be a member of that too. So it took really a lot of folks, including Carl Mack at the time was president of the NAACP, had to convince the principal to have a Black student union, which they had. And it ended up having more young white women students as members than Black students because they were that supportive of it. So, but you just made a point, and I want to just say that Robyn had made a point about reparations in the trying to get the city to return the property that was taken unjustly by the city, that block across from the church at New Hope. A reporter called me and said, well, that would be great. That would be reparations, wouldn't it? I said, no. Reparations when all Black descendants get something, that would be an act of justice. So there's a big deal between how people interpret reparations, because every time if a Black person gets a promotion, is that reparation? No, that's because that brother or sister's qualified. That's not reparations. Reparations when all Black folks, African descendants of the United States and slave, receive something. And if we would have started with the 40 acres and a mule, like I said, we would probably own half the country right now with that kind of wealth.
We definitely would, because we know what to do with the money. And they thought we had reparations when Barack Obama was president.
Yeah, so, any excuse is a good excuse.
Right.
That's one job.
Right.
That's one job.
If you guys are just tuning in, you are watching Clean Greens Live, broadcasted on Rainier Avenue Radio. It is your host, Queen Bree and Robyn T. And we have Eddie Rye in the house. We want to thank you for taking your time out for coming to talk with us and chat with us and educate us. Robyn, did you have a question?
Yeah, we wanted to talk about your inspiration. So how have you, you seem to be timeless, ageless, and we're joining in and hoping to continue the work as long as you do. So what is your advice for people getting into the movement? Is it kind of finding your voice, finding your lane? Is it showing up everywhere? Is it learning? Is it learning legislation? Like, what do you want to give to the different generations in order to continue the longevity? Because I don't feel like you're stopping anytime soon.
Well, with the way the current situation is, I can't afford to stop anytime soon. If the generations coming behind me going to have any kind of opportunity or chance at all. But the most important thing is that everybody don't have to be a leader. Everybody can participate. Everybody can't go to jail in a demonstration. Everybody can't carry a picket sign or a bullhorn, but they can send an email. They can make a phone call. And to be involved with something, you don't have to be the leader, but a good follower makes a good leader. And the other thing is really understanding. And I have to read and understand what the issues are, the underlying issues and stuff. If that requires freedom of information requests from public entities, then do that. But just always have accurate information. Don't be afraid to support someone else if you agree with what the cause is. And like I said, you might not be able to go to the meeting or show up at the hearing, but you can send an email. You can make a phone call. Everyone can do something. And a lot of times situations create leaders. You might see an injustice somewhere and stand up for someone. And it becomes a movement. You're automatically a leader because you took the time to stand up. So those are some of the advice I would have is really understanding what's happening in terms of where the money is going, where the jobs are going, about are you cut in on whatever is at the city council or the county council budget, or the needs in your community, are they being met? Are you calling city council about having that land returned to New Hope Missionary Baptist Church? That's one everybody can get on right away. And that's one that we got, our eyes would be on the prize. And then what would be something else will come after that. And other people who are involved in that movement can learn from that and also call injustice when they see it because they know what it looks like.
I think that's really good advice. I think sometimes people get too caught up in feeling like they have to lead or thinking they want to be the leader, not realizing that you need to follow or get educated. So that was really good advice. I know for me, I didn't know where to step in, but once I started just, like you said, doing something, there's so many things to do one after the other, and it's not giving up. It's the keeping the fight going. With that question, how do you self-care? Because you've been doing this for years and you can't tell, you looking good. Like you said, 73 or
79 going on 49.
49.
Going on 49. How do you stay so refreshed looking, and what's your self-care?
Well, actually, I do believe in prayer. I don't do a lot of things that will jeopardize my health. I try to avoid that. I do take vitamins. I do exercise. I try to eat right. So those are, and some things you just can't control. So, you just can't go all the way off behind minor things. And you also got to be forgiving. Then that way you don't have the stress. So a lot of people are stressed out over this and that. And some things you have no control. I mean, I've talked to brothers and sisters that have grandkids. Oh, they're just stressed. So look, you can only give them advice and control so much. But if you let everything they do run you crazy, you're going to have a nervous breakdown. So you might as well just go ahead, roll with the punches. If you can pray for them, just go ahead and do that.
That's beautiful. So much good advice. Like everybody, I hope you've been taking notes. So you said to call in right now about the land for New Hope. Are there any other major issues we should be on it right now with?
On that New Hope issue, I think the most important thing is for you to use your platform to get the issues out there that Dr. Jeffries put together. And I think when people see that, en masse, have people share it on Facebook, share their other platforms, and then that's what you want to do. And then have a list of who the city council members are, who the mayor, their phone numbers, email addresses, and ask people to stand up.
Nice. I think Thank you for coming on here and sharing all that information with us. We really appreciate it. And I know we tell people all the time because they wonder what Clean Greens is about. They think we're just on here talking about food. And yes, we talk about food, but we talk about what's going on in our community because that is community health as well. So we've learned so much from you in just a short bit of time, and we thank you. You can follow. Are you on Instagram now? We didn't see you on Instagram. Are you
Yeah,
active
but you
on
know
your-
that man, they be my daughter gets something all the time. She got 1.5 million followers, and I got 15 because
Yeah, we
I'm
see
not
you
on
more on
that.
Angela's post than we see you on yours.
Huh?
I said we see you more on Angela's Instagram than yours.
Yeah,
we
I
gonna
know.
get you some followers.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna get the lady that does my technology, Stephanie Ogle, Soul Sis Media. I'm gonna get her to start taking me out of this technology preschool I'm in right now.
Time
Check
for
out
kindergarten.
Rye
Yeah.
Jr. Eddie.Rye. What is that called, Lord? I always forget what that's called.
Underscore.
Junior. And you can also check him out on Urban Farm Northwest every Thursdays from 2 to 3. Please go follow him. Let's get him up to that 1.5 like his daughter.
I have some pictures I took at your rally. I'll send you. You can post them.
Yeah, you can.
Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yes. Team Clean Greens is gonna help you as well. So let us know.
Okay, well, I want to thank Tony D and my main man John Yasutaki. I know he has a program as well over there. So
yeah,
he's my John and Mike Yasutaki, my longtime friends. So I wanted to give them a shout out too.
Yeah, they're fabulous. They
Yes,
were
they are.
talking all sorts of amazing stuff, and they've been doing really cool stuff in the community for so long. We love them as well. Rainier Avenue Radio.
And Rick Dupree's
John.
the primary sports announcer, huh?
yes.
Shout out to Rick.
Thank you. Well, that's time, guys. Thank you for joining us. We appreciate you, and we will continue to join the fight with you. Next up,
Thanks,
Traffic
Heather.
Jam.
Thank you.
Bye.